to do this, rather than me writing it down, I'm actually just going to use this scratch pad right here to kind of go over this. So the way it works is you have to use the keyword procedure. So I would write this down. I mean, it's in the reference sheet. It's in this reference sheet, but it is good to still write it down. It encodes in your brain a little bit better. So I would write that down. All right, so procedure. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to do an example. Let's do an example one here. So this is an example for it. So it's going to be different than the reference sheet. And say we had a procedure that said, it's just a procedure called hello. In the hello, you can have inputs. So we're going to just kind of ignore that right now and just end up closing this parentheses. You could have stuff in here. I'm going to show you an example of that in a little bit, but first I'm going to show you ones where there's no parameters, no inputs into the function. And what I want you to do is like think of this function as like an f of x function in math class. The function's name is f, and the x is the input. Here we don't have any input, but you still have to put parentheses, otherwise the computer doesn't know what you're trying to go for with that. I'm going to get rid of those bullets. All right, so for the procedure, there's a curly brace, and everything that's inside of this curly brace is going to be part of that procedure. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to display, whoops, don't know how to spell, display hello. Okay, I'm actually going to write from the procedure. Okay, hello from the procedure. Okay, and then you're going to have a curly brace. So now what this procedure allows us to do is if we ran code and we just ran hello like this. So say this was the code here and we ran this, you would have to say, well, what is the output? The output would be hello from the procedure. Okay? And the reason why is this hello is basically just going to run whatever's in here. So it's going to run this right here. And that's basically it. Okay? If you did not call it, say you didn't have this right here, nothing would be outputted. Okay, there would be nothing outputted because you didn't actually call this procedure. You defined the procedure so the computer knows what hello is, but you haven't used it yet. Okay, so it's kind of like the dictionary. The dictionary has a bunch of words in it, but if you don't use those words, then nothing's going to happen. So they're defined somewhere, but you have to actually use them. This procedure is defined, this hello, but it's not used anywhere. Here is me actually using it. Now something will be outputted. Okay. So that's basically the first example for the procedure. Let's do another one. Okay, let's do procedure hello, only this time let's take in a name. So the name is the name of a variable. This is just some variable name. Okay, now what you can do here is we're going to do the display again. And we're going to say hello, whoops, hello, comma, and then name. Okay, end brackets. So now the hello with a name in it, what you can do is if you call hello and then I put in CSP for the input here, CSP is now going to be this name. Okay, this name, and then the name is going to have a value CSP. So then it's going to say hello CSP. So the output for this would be hello CSP. Okay, actually I have to get rid of the space because they add a space in there for you. But this would be the output. Okay. Before it was just hello from the procedure. Okay, that's the output. But if you notice, I didn't have any inputs here. Name is the input here, and then it's outputted here. It gets defined here. So the name is this CSP in quotes, becomes that right here, and then it says hello CSP. Let's do another one. What if I did procedure, let's see here, and I'm going to say, let's do hello, and then we'll do name, and then we're going to do a number. So I'm just going to write number here. Okay. Now, what you can do is I can display hello, and then name, but I didn't actually use that number, which is totally okay. You don't actually have to use it. But what I'm going to do is try to integrate other stuff that we've learned. In this case, I'm going to write repeat number times. So it's going to repeat this many times. I need the curly brace. So, whoops. So that needs to be there. All right. And then I'm going to put this here like that with the curly brace. So it's going to repeat whatever your number is here that many times. And it's going to say display whatever your name is. And then I'm I'm going to put a curly braces here to end that. So now if we ran this and I wrote hello, and then let's just say I wrote CSP again, only this time I write 4. What's going to be outputted when you run this, so this is what's being run, this whole thing, this is the code for this particular procedure. You run that, it's being called here. This is where it's called. The output would be hello, CSP, and then it's going to print that out 4 times with a space. And that would be the output for that one. And you can see I had 2 inputs. In math, we're used to 1 input, f of x, g of x, that sort of thing. X is the input. Here we have 2 inputs. You can really have as many inputs as you want, really, until you overload the computer, obviously. But it would say hello CSP 4 times, essentially. Now, if I ran this again, say I did hello Ozarka 3, this would output hello Ozarka, let's do a space, 3 times, so print that out. This would actually be the exact output if you ran this program. It would run the hello with the CSP, and then it would run the hello with the Ozarka. Next thing I'm going to go over, we're still going to do some stuff with procedures. I'm going to give you another example. Let's do procedure. Let's just call it the average. So mean, I'll just call it average instead of mean. And we're going to do the average of 3 numbers. And I'm going to call the numbers A, B, and C. These are the 3 inputs. It's just like f of x, only it's A, B, and C. There's 3 inputs. Curly braces. So what we're going to do is we are going to add up these 3 numbers, and I'm going to input that into the D variable. And so what we're doing is going to be A plus B plus C, and then we're going to divide it by 3 because that's how many values we have. Okay. Then I'm going to display D. Okay, and then end curly braces. And what you can do is if I did the average of 1, 2, and 3, right? This would output the average between all those, which the average is 2. The 2 would be the output there. Okay. The next thing on that sheet, if we go back to this right here, the next thing that they discuss on this sheet is the return keyword right here. So it says return expression. So return expression. I'm going to show you what that return means. It basically means what is the procedure spitting out? What is it outputting? Okay. Now this procedure that it's outputting is different. Oops. The procedure if a procedure is outputting something, it's different than if it was just displaying something to the screen. So this one's displaying something to the screen, but what I'm going to do now is change this to be return. Okay. Now it's being returned to the screen. What's being returned into the computer is just going to be that 2, but it's not going to actually output it to the screen. Okay. So this return D, it's just going to output it to the screen. It's going to output it in the background, basically. We want to know what that value is. So what you can do is this part right here, let's just make up another variable and say that M is whatever this outputs here. It's going to take that value of D. If you run this, it's going to output that D, which is the average is 2, and it's going to throw it in this M variable. Nothing is still going to output to the screen unless you do display M. Okay, now a 2 will show up onto the screen because you displayed M. M is based on whatever the average is spitting out. It's spitting out this average right here into M, and then the M is outputting it there, speed 2. Okay. Another thing you could have done is just taken this average right here and just did this and just put the average right in there. It would still output 2 because it's going to average those 3 numbers. Okay, another thing we can do is display, let's see, average of let's just do 3, 4, and 5. Okay, so it's still going to spit out the 2. It's also going to spit out the average of those numbers, which is going to be 8 plus 4, which is 12 divided by 3. So it's just going to output 4 for that one, and so on, whatever numbers you want to put in there. Okay, that's basically how procedures are used. And what's great about them is rather than rewriting this kind of code here, even though it's only 2 lines, but rewriting any code, you can just use the procedure that's already made and then use it for whatever numbers you want.